What's up, Texans fans? It's your man Chess White, aka Jargon 2, and in this video, we're going to talk about the tits, the little titty babies, the little salty boys from Nashville, the little bitch boys of the division, the little bitch made team that want to wear our old jerseys against us and lose. That little team that thinks that they're something, man. Week 4, Houston Texans, Tennessee Titans. What is this game going to be all about? The Texans getting the easiest dub of their schedule. This is one of those circle games. When the schedule comes out, you circle certain games that you know for a fact your team is going to win. And I'm going to stand on business. The Texans are going to beat the Tennessee Titans. Cam Ward, first overall pick. Looks like he's going to be better than Will Levis. That's not saying much. Dude needed more mayonnaise in the coffee. Dude needed more time in the film room. Dude needed a little bit more Madden time, maybe, to think about what you're doing with the football. Maybe not make so many stupid throws and throw so many pick sixes, holding onto the ball in the pocket. It was not a good start to the career for Will Levis. People had the Texans taking Will Levis in mock drafts, and they were dead wrong about that pick. Fortunately, we did not pick up Will Levis. Nothing against Will Levis, but man, he played like trash on the Titans. And man, the Titans were trash last season. The Titans are going to be coming off of games against the Broncos, the Rams, and the Colts. Very possible that this is an 0-3 team heading into week 4. Now, this game is also in Houston, which also favors the Texans. And it's a noon kickoff, which the Texans love. And we have always kicked off at noon. And we have always kicked the Titans' ass. Andre Johnson showed the world that the Tennessee Titans and Cortland Innigan are straight up bitch made. And this year, week 4, we're going to show the world one more time that this rookie QB, Cam Ward, glad that you got the first overall pick with him. He ain't going to make the difference for you because the Texans are going to roll on this game. This is the easiest game in the first half of our schedule. Really looking forward to talking about the matchups in this game and the changes that the Titans made in the offseason, because there was a lot of them, and how these two teams are going to go at it in week 4, and why the Texans are going to get an easy dub. Easy dub on this one, y'all. All right, so real quick, we're going to talk about what the Titans did in the offseason. First of all, they signed Kevin Zeitler, very solid guard. And then they brought over Xavier Woods from the Panthers to play safety. Then in the draft, you know that they had the first overall pick, but what did they do after that? They took a defensive end out of UCLA, Oluwafemi Oladejo, and then you got Kevin Winston Jr., a safety out of Penn State, a couple of wide receivers, and a tight end here. They got DK out of Florida, Gunnar Helm, tight end from UT, and then Alec Ayumanor from Stanford. So they added a couple of weapons to give Cam Ward some people to throw to, and a pass rusher here and a safety there. All right, so real quick, we're going to take a look at the Titans defense. Starting with the D-line, you got T'Vondre Sweat in the middle. I wanted Houston to take T'Vondre out of UT. We ended up with Kamari Lassiter. That ended up being one of the best picks that Nick has made since being the GM, because Lassiter is a dog. I remember watching Lassiter's tape and thinking that he was the best tackling corner in the draft, and the Titans were several picks ahead of us when they took Sweat, so really no problem there. Happy with that we got Lassiter. Next to him, Jeffrey Simmons. They might have the best defensive tackle combination in the NFL right now, and that's probably the only reason why they were able to beat us in Houston last season. Those two just showed up to play, and our interior offensive line was trash, so it was just a car crash waiting to happen right there. At defensive end, you've got Sebastian Joseph Day, and then on the other side, you've got Arden Key. They let one of their best pass rushers go to New England, Harold Landry. And then in the secondary, you have L'Jarius Sneed, who they brought over from the Chiefs. Xavier Woods, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., a couple of people I'm not really scared of. Linebackers that you probably never heard of. And look, this defense is not going to put up that much of a problem for Houston this season, because protection will be better, running game will be better, and outside of Sneed, you don't have anybody who's really going to be able to lock up this whole wide receiver group. I do think that Sneed is one of the best corners in our division outside of Stingley, but I am not afraid of this defense. Looking at the offense for a little bit, outside of the people we already mentioned, Tony Pollard, they brought him over from the Cowboys. Why did he sign with them when they were one of the worst teams? I do not know, but it has to be money related. Then you got Calvin Ridley, second chapter of his career after Atlanta. They did bring in Tyler Lockett, very solid player who made a really good career for himself with the Seahawks. And then tight end Okonkwo had a huge touchdown against us last year, which was one of the main reasons why they won that game, and is a little bit smaller but extremely fast for a tight end. And I'll be interested to see how does Gunnar Helm play at the NFL level. He's a person that I wanted the Texans to maybe grab in one of the middle rounds. But really, the Titans have done a lot to redo their offensive line, right? Because they got first-round pick Skoronski, and then they got first-round pick J.C. Latham out of Bama, brought over Zeitler, like I said, Cushenberry, one of the better centers, and Dan Moore at left tackle. Did they overpay for Dan Moore? Who knows? But they are making a big effort to protect Cam Ward, something that they could not really do with Levis. And so Cam Ward is probably set up for some better success given the players that he has around him. And I'll be really interested to see how is Cam Ward at processing, making decisions. He does have good tools as a quarterback. He's got a good arm. He's got good mobility. And he's one of the least talked about first overall picks in recent memory because these people would not shut up about Deion Sanders' kid. I don't care about Deion Sanders' kid. Okay, Cam Ward, give him his respect. He had a really successful college career, more successful than people tend to admit. But, you know, going into the NFL to a bad team, how is he going to start to put things together? It's going to be interesting to see, but he is not going to be beating this Texans defense with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson all up in his grill all game, and Stingley and Lassiter locking people down. Bullock in the secondary, the Texans linebacking core. It's just going to be way too much for Cam Ward, and this is going to be a fun one. I would love to see the Texans blow out the Titans. In none of these previous first three games am I willing to say that the Texans are going to win in a blowout fashion. This is a game I'm very comfortable to say, yes, we could easily blow out the Titans. Now, could the Titans also put up a lot of garbage time touchdowns and fantasy football points? Definitely. Given that they have good offensive weapons and a better offensive line, they could be putting up some numbers on offense, but at the end of the day, it's going to be garbage time, and it's going to be trash for them. They're going to stay in this game if they can, but hopefully the Texans will put them away earlier rather than bringing this game down to the wire, because it would be embarrassing to lose to this team. I don't want to entertain the possibility of that. But look, every Texans game this season, I want to talk about it before it happens and then come back and look at, well, what were the matchups that decided the game? Because to me, the biggest matchups of the game are going to be the Titans' two defensive tackles against our interior offensive line. If they are able to constantly collapse the pocket around CJ, then it could be difficult for the Texans to win. But then again, I look at what the Texans have on offense going up against that Titans defense in the secondary, and I don't think the Titans have a snowball's chance in hell on this one, because Nico Collins, Kirk, the two Iowa State rookies, Higgins and Knoll, they're just going to be too much for the Titans defense to keep track of. I don't think we're just going to run all over the Titans, but I do think it's going to be a fun game for Texans fans. And there's just something really nostalgic about beating the Titans. And I'm glad that we're getting this game early in the season, because the early stretch of the season is really difficult, especially that opener against the Rams, as I went over in that video. And so this game is going to be important to get the dub that we should easily get. And on the good side of things, looking at having 3 out of 4 wins. Okay, if you drop one of your first 4, but you're 3-1 going into your next 4 stretch of games, then you have to like that outcome. The Titans are a team that is trying to go through a full rebuild, full new identity, and they have good pieces to do that with. But they did lose one of their number 2 wide receivers in Treylon Burke in the offseason. So that is going to hurt them. It's going to mean that other players are just going to have to step up. Other players are going to get the football more. And Tyjae Spears as running back 2, a player that a lot of people liked in the draft, a little bit more of a shifty receiving running back. It'll be interesting to see, is he going to play in this game? Is he going to contribute? Pollard was one of the biggest reasons also why the Titans were able to sneak out a win over us last season, because Pollard had a good game and they were blocking well up front, and Skoronski was a good draft pick. Most people had him as by far and away the best O-lineman in that class. So, you know, they're doing their thing. They're trying to get back into this division, but they are clearly the fourth best team in the division and one of the worst rosters in the NFL. So, tell me what you think is going to happen in this game. Tell me what you think the score is going to be. Put your area codes in the chat. Show me your Houston pride. If you're a U of H fan, show me your Cougs in the house. And let's go get another win in week 4. Let's go Texans, swarm. And I'm going to see y'all in the next one. Peace.